Good news is, we'll be live tonight, and I'm nice and rested for live. So Molly Golightly has done a video where she claims that she was scammed through her credit card. I've watched it because I wanted to just upload a response to that video. I didn't think it would relate to the stuff we've been talking about on the live stream, but after watching it, I now realize we do need to watch this video live. There's some observations I need to make about how if Molly got scammed, then and the way she describes getting scammed, why doesn't she feel as if people who donated to Letitia got scammed? Either way, though, the other part of this video is the main part. So I'm just going to tell you, I'll be live on Rock a Lot. I've scheduled it for 8:30 tonight. Gives me time to eat dinner and handle family stuff. Though, let's see here. MGL getting scammed. We'll handle all that on Rock a Lot tonight because you guys know what we really want to talk about. You know what we really need to talk about right now. For those of you that know about it, and for those of you that don't know about it, you're going to know about it after this Twitter space. And I do encourage you to go watch her video. See, Cheshire went live. I'm sorry, she didn't go live. She edited a video and uploaded it to address. She says the reason is that it wouldn't be right because she promoted the Fraudraiser if she didn't go live. And I'm sorry, if she didn't at least upload a video and tell people what happened and tell them how they can get their money back. So that seems admirable at first. It seems admirable. That is, though, with that being true, what about the other Fraudraisers? Do you remember those that she was heavily involved in and had no warning to her audience on any of the channels that she went on? No expose. Didn't let them know to get their money back. Now, you see the difference here? The difference is that the other Fraudraisers were ran by Red's Rhetoric, her ex-boyfriend. And the current Fraudraiser that she just got done calling out was ran by the Lobster King, who she has had no relationship with. So if you want to ask me why she has uploaded this video about this Fraudraiser, but doesn't feel morally, now because she says she felt morally obligated to do so, but you want to ask me why she didn't feel morally obligated to upload a video about the other Fraudraisers done by Red's Rhetoric and those other people that did it, well, that's just one part of the story. I think I've made my point there, because I think the main thing to talk about, at least on this space, and I did record this damn space. I clicked the record button, so it better not play that game with me where it doesn't record. It's happened to me once, but the point here, the thing we need to talk about here is, oh shit, hold on, let me turn this up. Okay. The thing we need to talk about here is her video in general, what she says in the video, why she made the video, yada, yada, yada. Okay. So her video is, she tags, like she literally at sign tags Katie and Steve. And basically it starts off with her playing him, saying that it's a clip of like him and her together, and him saying he needs like $40,000 or $20,000 to sue her. Okay. And after that, she comes in and she's basically sipping her coffee, and she takes a couple little animated sips where she animates her little goblin to sip the coffee, and then it goes into the video. So a general breakdown would be, hey guys, so here's why it's a Fraudraiser. And her point was, well, here's why it's a Fraudraiser, and I feel morally obligated to tell you this since I heavily promoted it. And if you want your money back, Steve's not going to give it to you, and he's going to attack you and go crazy on you if you ask for a refund. Though two people at least have gone through GoFundMe and gotten their refunds, and you should too, type thing. Okay. So let's go back to the beginning of that, where she sips her coffee and starts talking about why it's a Fraudraiser. So she does a pretty adequate job, right? She talks about how if you read the wording of his fundraiser, no matter how it flies, the wording makes it to where if he doesn't file, he's done a Fraudraiser. Okay? So I have some problems there, Cheshire. You see, that's not how GoFundMe terms of service works. For people that claim to be so smart, I've never been able to understand how you guys can't sit down and read actual terms of service and read more than just a Wikipedia excerpt type of terms of service. Because if you read GoFundMe terms of service, if you read what you can and can't promise somebody with this type of charitable situation, with this type of money request, then you know there are many reasons why he did a Fraudraiser. That he was outside of TOS, that he didn't do what he was supposed to do. And a lot of people will say, so why didn't GoFundMe shut him down earlier, right? That's not their job. They'll shut you down if it's overly transparent. It's just like YouTube. YouTube will shut your video down, but you see so many scams out on YouTube and you're like, what the fuck? I didn't even do anything. And then you repeal and they're like, sorry, because you are making an argument, a legal argument, okay? When you go to GoFundMe, if you're gonna scam and it's not an obvious scam, GoFundMe will let you run your fucking scam. And because again, it's not obvious. They don't know that it is. They're back and forth. They can't go out and fact check everything. It would take so many resources for GoFundMe to be able to research every fundraiser that's challenged to the slightest degree, to the, any type of percent. To research it to any type of percent, it would take massive amounts of time. You feel me? So they can't do that. What they can do, though, is if it's obvious, shut it down. And if it's not, let you run it and then take you to court and send you to jail if you steal people's money later. Okay? So the argument that you got away with running it, the argument that GoFundMe let it stay up, these arguments work when it's completely obvious. But when there's actual lies, deception, and other methods, other things taking place to try and deceive to keep it up, you don't get to play that game. You with me? So my basic first response to her is that she says it's a Fraudraiser by taking the wording that he wrote, okay? She thinks, and literally listen to this shit, she thinks that you have to look at the wording that was written in the fundraiser, right? And that it's the complete go-all, be-all for whether or not the money was stolen. And I just want to make sure she knows that's not the case. Yes, you have to look at that. But in many situations, regardless, people will make promises that they can't make and not even know it. People will make promises outside TOS and not even know it. So the second part of this is that then she goes in and determines that it's a Fraudraiser by saying, like I said before, I'll repeat it because there was only a couple people in here then. She says it's a Fraudraiser because he promised to do all of these things in the pursuit of fair compensation and justice, okay? The problem is you can't get fair compensation and justice if you don't file. Then she goes into like this logical thing like, well, he says that he's going through other people's lawsuits now to get justice and fair compensation. But she comes to the conclusion that how are you going to come to fair compensation by going through someone else's lawsuit? That doesn't make sense. The judge wouldn't make a ruling in your case, which is what you said is the only thing you wanted. The money doesn't matter. It's all about a judge or a jury clearing your name or Katie coming to an agreement with you to where she goes out and apologizes and clears your name, right? Now let's rewind to the beginning of this. You know how I mentioned Katie, okay? That's a big part of Cheshire's little Fraudraiser expose, all right? The fact that Steve and Katie, she starts off by saying, Steve and Katie are YouTubers. Okay, check, Cheshire. You're good there. And that Katie accused Steve of, quote, horrible shit, and that they've been going back and forth ever since. It's just a complete fucking lie. It's just, how she still is, you know what? I've come to figure it out. It's that she and her friends and them are the ones who hold on to all of the vitriol, jealousy, and anger, right? They hold on to that because the only reason Chesh can't go in and call out Red's Rhetoric's Fraudraisers, Steve's Fraudraisers, all how wrong. The evidence that's there that proves he did say this stuff to her. The fact that I factually know that she factually knows that he did say these things to her. And instead of being sympathetic to any degree, due to that vitriol, jealousy, revenge, all that garbage I mentioned, of course, she can't let us be right. This was hard enough for her. And she also can't let Katie be right. She can't admit that Katie didn't accuse Steve of horrible shit. She accused Steve of what he did. And we have the evidence to prove that. And you know what's kind of crazy? You'd think back when they were together, Steve and Chesh, you all remember that they would both ignore the damning evidence, that really damning evidence, right? The stuff that really fucked up their little narratives. They would both ignore that shit together, you know? They would both make a concerted effort to not acknowledge the video clips, the other people's testimony, the previously admitted things that bust their narratives. So they worked in tandem to push their own bullshit, lie to their audience, manipulate their audience. We all know this. There's so many examples. It's just insane, right? So I really, again, seeing her walk away from them, which is Reds and Steve, and seeing that she's still that committed to them, it would, I don't think anyone would be wrong to create a theory in their head that they all still are working together to some degree. And this is just a fight over money, which is the only thing any of them ever cared about. Because the only way this makes sense is if Reds and Steve and Chesh all rip people off together. And the only reason that there's any kind of argument between the three of them is because Chesh stood up and said, you two, you can rip everybody else off, but you can't rip me, Chesh, off. You give me my fucking 33 or you GTFO and I'm out of here, right? So anyway, I do feel that that's the case. But again, the only thing you have to lean towards that is her behavior. Now, I know Reds and Lobster Man and Chesh don't believe the behavioral evidence, the way someone acts, who they target, who they attack, who they defend, the morals, the ethics, the things they say. They think that none of that makes a difference to any story. But I've proven to them over the last X amount of years that that is the source of my crystal ball. That's how I get all these stories right years before other YouTubers, creators, and tweeters and peeps out there, okay? Not to say I'm the only one that does. I'm just saying out of those public people, of course. But anyway. So back to the Fraudraiser call-out video. She then, after she makes her entire argument, which is full of bullshit, full of lies. Let me finish my thought here, so let's get done with this. Because I got to get back into the general, finish stream prep in a little bit, eat dinner, and then we're going live at 8:30 on Rock a Lot. But let me finish my thought, because she starts off and doesn't tell the truth that, you know, if Chesh was, you know how she's so honorable that she's going to do this video, right? Because she's a good person. She literally says this. I'm not making this up. She's a good person. She wouldn't be an honorable goblin if she didn't come out and let the people who she told to donate money to this thing. She apologized to the people that she told to donate money for the first time in any of the Fraudraisers that she had a hand in. She actually apologized to the people that got ripped off. That's pretty fucking crazy. And in the end there, the biggest issue I have is that she doesn't, okay, with this all being over and done, you would think that a normal adult, and yeah, I know she's not one, that's why it won't happen, would sit down and look at the actual evidence, regardless of who put the evidence out, regardless of where it came from, regardless of whose video clip, which channel it's on, regardless if Unirock used that clip to make a point in the past that completely exposed them, you'd think that she would pull the actual evidence and find out the truth in this scenario. But she already knows the truth. Again, she knows that he SH'd Katie. She knows that he did say those things to Katie. She knows that Katie wasn't wrong in calling him out the way she did. Because if Katie was wrong calling him out in that side chat of Kyle's, that would mean everything that he posted publicly, booming and flipping, would be absolutely wrong. And for some reason, she doesn't think that's the case, right? If you do listen, though, she gives Katie more shit than she gives Steve in that video, other than the Fraudraiser. She doesn't talk, she calls him out for attacking Manya, and she calls him out for the Fraudraiser. That's all. That's it, right? That's it. And at the end point here, what you have to kind of decide yourself is, do you buy it? Do you buy her excuse? I don't. So what do I think really happened here? I think that she's still trying to maintain her alliances, enemies, vengeances, and petty fighting, petty emotions linked into all of this. Though I think that the pressure from Manya for Cheshire to call out the fact that Manya got ripped off, and that Manya, because Manya still would be supporting Cheshire monetarily here. Fine, you feel me? I think the pressure from Manya mounted, and Cheshire wanted to prove to Manya, yeah, I'll call him out for what he did to you. And then also she would have to call him out by default to what he did ripping everybody else off for this fundraiser. But I just want to remind Cheshire and all of you and everybody out there, because it will matter in the future. With future fundraisers, Fraudraisers, with future instances of people scamming, you will see the way Chesh is acting here reflected in other people, okay? It's very common. Cheshire is maintaining her hate and revenge and anger, and at the same time, though, trying to just concede this fundraiser and him attacking Manya, okay? Now, if she was this good goblin, if she was honorable, or any of the things that she thinks she is, she would feel that she needed to come out and set the record straight on all of her lies, all of her bullshit over the years, all of the... Okay, so let's just wipe everything else off the table, because nobody gives a fuck what she says about any of us. Even back then, it didn't have an effect, because she just doesn't have any weight to her words. So let's just look at the Fraudraisers themselves. Is she prepping videos to call out Reds, Sean, Manya, Ilya, and the other Fraudraisers that happened out there? Is she making videos to call out the way that Reds and Steve have funded their communities, lied on other creators, attacked other creators, all for the point of making money, all for the point of spreading a fundraiser, right? Is she planning on doing anything to actually admit what she saw, and admit what she heard, and admit the different schemes and plots and trollings and doxings and harassment? No, she won't. Because, again, she's not a good person. She's not a, quote, using her words, good goblin. She doesn't give a fuck about anyone that got ripped off but herself. She doesn't give a fuck about anyone that got doxxed or harassed but herself and Manya. No one in the world matters but those few people. That's what happens when you sell your soul to a cult leader. And you don't have the wherewithal, and you don't have the, whatever it is she said, enough of being a good goblin to take your soul back. And until she finally does come out and do this, she'll still be subservient to her lobster god.